All right, starting off Monday's strength training, you're gonna start with half kneeling, behind the neck, banded overhead press. All right, well, first of all, I do wanna make sure that maybe my ponytail or my hat or something on my head that you might be wearing is not in the way. I would actually move my hair a little bit, but for today's purposes, I just wanna make sure you're not having to do this in order to do the press, because you would never look like this in real life. So you're gonna just stand nice and tall, make sure everything's out of the way to do the movement. I'm trying to spread the band apart a little bit and pull it behind my ears without compensating my hips or leaning forward or doing something funny. I'm trying to be as tall as I can from my down knee to my head, and then just treating this like a behind the neck press with a little bit of tension, all right? This doesn't need to be the heaviest thing. It should feel like you're pulling it apart by maybe 3 to 5 pounds, and you're pulling it behind you by maybe 3 to 5 pounds, okay? So also controlling how much you're shrugging while you're doing this movement, right? Making sure we're not using our traps. We're keeping our shoulders back and down. And that's gonna be 5 sets of 12 reps. You can rotate each leg if you need to per set. Our next movement that you're going to be supersetting the half kneeling banded press is our unstable overhead squat. So we had unstable squat last time. This time it's unstable overhead squat. You can imagine it's going to be much, much lighter, okay? Notice what barbell you're going to be grabbing as well for this one. And then just like last week how we made it unstable with the band. And we're just feeding the plate through, using the band right next to the collar. And then clamping it on each side, okay? In order to weigh it more, you're gonna want to put more weights on the barbell, not more weights here. So if you want to make it heavier than just the barbell and then what you have hanging, you can add plates on the outside of the band, right? Then clip that. Or you could just hang weights and maybe the empty barbell is heavy enough, because this is going to be a very challenging movement. Now with overhead squats, it's definitely a lot more challenging to keep it stable, and now you're adding instability to it. So make sure that if you're going to load it with weights, okay, hanging it on here is fine, metal or rubber plates, but if you're going to actually put weights on here, okay, make sure you go over there and grab the rubber plates, all right, whatever side you need to bring them over, because that's going to be allowed to jump on the floor. I need to know where to grab for an overhead squat, and that's going to be okay? So I need to make sure I know where that's at. If I use the grip wider, then I need to get under the bar, take it off the rack first, and then go into that okay? You can strict press it up, or you can quick press it up, any shoulder to overhead, whatever you choose to keep it as steady as possible, so your bands aren't out of control when you go over your head, okay? Overhead squat, focusing on keeping that stable. My core is tight, my shoulders are back. Right knee, I'm not up here, right? Trying to use that area how I should. Right core tight here. And I'm also focusing on pulling the bar apart. Okay, so a little bit of tension of pulling it apart is gonna help keep it steady on the way up and on the way down. And of course, this was gonna prime you in the beginning to help you accomplish that as well. Your next series of exercises is gonna start with single arm kettlebell overhead squats. So some of the kettlebells will be rounded on one side and flat on one side. You definitely want the flat side against your wrist, okay? Getting a lockout. Now, if you have trouble doing overhead squats in general, you can put your lifters on for this. I would suggest that. All right, so my arm is nice and strong overhead. Again, I'm not shrugging or twisting or rotating. I'm gonna use my other arm for balance. I'm trying to keep my arm at least behind my ears, okay? If I can't go that low, like I said, I can put lifters on. I can put plates underneath my heels to make my heels a little higher. Or maybe I can only go here, and that's fine, okay? Let's just get the best range of motion you can and then whatever load you need to in order to make that successful. And that's going to be 5 sets of 8 reps per arm on that one. After the single arm overhead squats, you're going to go straight into your seated dip machine, okay? So you can adjust this for maybe a more narrow shoulders, wider shoulders, okay? Once I get in here, I know you might not be able to see it, but I'm at least trying to get a 90-degree angle with my elbow, all right? If my seat was higher, I'm not really bending it as much, right? Or I want to break at least parallel through here. All right, so again, if my seat was up here, I would look like this. If my seat was too low, my arms would be too high. So this is actually a good adjustment for me here. I'm gonna push straight down. Again, I'm gonna make sure I'm not going into my neck through here. My shoulders are down and relaxed, or not relaxed, but I have tension in my lower traps. My shoulders will come up and roll forward a little bit, but not so forward where I'm into my neck and I've lost tension, okay? Here, my lower traps are still engaged, all right? If I lose it, you'll see I roll completely forward, and that's not what we're looking for. And that's going to be 5 sets of 10 reps. Our next movement we're going to be doing is a lat pullover, but we're going to get our core involved, okay? So our lat pullover, right, would be here. I'm just going to keep my arms overhead. Basically, I'm trying to make sure I'm not too wide, not too narrow. I'm looking for my arms to go basically right above my shoulders for this one. I want to make sure I'm not rolling my arms out like this when I come down. Or up. I want to kind of draw my elbows together, or like the back of my tricep is completely facing the ceiling or in front of me, okay? So not turned out, turned in like this. So this is our lat pullover. We want to make sure we get our core involved. So I want to make sure that you guys are not letting the rib cage open up every time we go overhead. So we're not looking for this every time. We're looking for the ribs to stay closed down, okay? And then we're gonna add our legs to that. So this would be a harder version. Or if some of us want to go in hollow for more of a stretch, that's fine. Or maybe this is too difficult. We can tuck the knees in a little bit more. So knees tucked in is easier, okay? Or I can do an alternative version like this as well. A half and half. All right, but I still want to tap the floor, or I'm going to go as low as my lats and my shoulders let me, as long as there's no discomfort. And that's also going to be 5 sets of 10 reps.